The Ukrainian community is anxiously waiting to see if a US-backed ceasefire will be accepted by Russia. Canadian Paul Grod is the president of the Ukrainian World Congress, advancing the interests of the war-weary nation's diaspora across the globe. And he joins us now on the couch with Kateryna Argyrou, the chair of the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Found Organisations. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
I wish it was under better circumstances. I just want to get your reaction overnight to this idea of a peace agreement. Is it acceptable to either of you as Ukrainians that you're forced, basically, to give up a big part of your country in order to stop another country continuing to invade you and drop bombs and drone attacks and all the rest of it on your homeland?
I think that, first off, it's important to understand that the Ukrainian people want peace more than anything because they were the ones who were invaded. They didn't start the war. 11 years ago, Russia first invaded Ukraine, and then 3 years ago started the full-scale invasion and has been consistently bombing Ukrainian cities. Just in the last 48 hours, they had over 260 drone attacks on Ukraine. In the last 24 hours, 120 hitting civilian targets, killing people. And so the Ukrainians live through this on a daily basis. So, of course, they want peace. But they also don't want peace at any cost. They want a just and lasting peace because they've been here before. Russia guaranteed Ukraine's security still when Ukraine gave up its nuclear arsenals, as did the United States. Yet today they are invading the country. And we can't let a large power like Russia exert its sphere of influence, because that's basically what Putin wants. He wants to exert his sphere of influence.
I mean, he speaks about this, right? He's written things about the great Russian Empire, and he sort of carves out big swathes of Ukraine and other nations and says that should be part of Russia's historical sphere of influence and homeland. Do you think that any peace deal that is reached with someone like Vladimir Putin can only be temporary, given he is very open about his long-term goals for restoring greatness to his country?
I think the answer is pretty obvious. He has these imperial ambitions, and unless he is defeated, there will not be any peace in Europe. He believes that he should control the sphere of influence, and as long as he's allowed to do so with having the second largest army in the world, having an economy that is continuing to sell its goods, and that's part of the deal that he's on Friday or Thursday he stated that he wants the maximalist approach. He wants to restore trade negotiations or trade relationships, reduction of sanctions, supplying oil to Europe, wants a sphere of influence, non-NATO. He wants to basically recreate the Soviet Union. He wants to recreate his sphere of influence over Eastern Europe. And neither Ukraine nor any of the Eastern European countries will have anything to do with that.
Kateryna, how is the Ukrainian community coping watching all of this play out? Not only has it been years, and I can't even imagine the pain involved, but since that meeting between Trump and Zelensky at the White House to the daily updates, just how are the community dealing with it?
Catherine, in one word, it's very difficult. So we have a Ukrainian community here that's about 53,000 people. Since the launch of the full-scale invasion, we've had about 5,000 Ukrainian refugees, displaced Ukrainians, come to Australia seeking safe haven. Those people are 70% are women and children, and they have been completely torn apart from their families. Their husbands are mostly on the front line. They have left other family members behind. So it's been emotionally traumatizing, psychologically traumatizing. And then hearing the news about daily attacks. For example, I started my morning with getting a message from my cousin that's currently on the front line, and he's been there for the past 3 years. He's equipped with his night vision device. He's an ambulance driver that evacuates the wounded. So while we're hearing talks, seeing headlines of peace talks, and we very much as the Ukrainian community hope that that is what will be achieved, but we want a just and lasting peace. And we want our family members to go back to their families, to their children, and potentially have them reunited here in Australia as well.
Kateryna, how do you cope with that? It really struck me at the tennis, the Ukrainian players, watching them behind the scenes. Alina Svitolina, I was lucky enough to sit with her and have a chat to her, and the weight she carries, and every time opening her phone to see an update on family or friends. Just how do you live that day today?
It's so hard. It's psychologically very difficult. It's emotionally very difficult because we try to, I go to work and I try to have a normal work day, but I'm thinking about my family that's being bombed in Kiev, in Sumy, and we have so many thousands of community members here that are feeling the same thing. We as a community had to fundraise dollar for dollar to raise enough money to buy a ticket for a woman that had to fly back home to bury her son because he had died on the front line. We have members of our community that have experienced that with their husbands. So we had to buy them tickets so they could return and go home for a funeral. It's absolutely traumatizing, and it's this daily destruction and death that we have to live with and constantly cope with. So when we have players like Elena Svitolina or any Ukrainian ambassador of any sort, the number one thing that we try to get across to the greater public is that Ukraine is under attack every single day. Yeah. There hasn't been a day over the past 3 years where the Russian Federation wasn't attacking Ukraine, whether it's missiles, whether it's drones, or whether it's fierce fighting on the front line, which has only escalated over the past few weeks. So we do hope that these peace talks actually come out as real peace.
The trauma is going to last a very, very long time as well. Paul and Kateryna, we appreciate you so much coming in and having a chat with us this morning.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.